this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet, and I am thrilled and happy to announce that at last somebody decided to publish a game which will be called just like my nickname, Leviathan. Who decided to do this? The guys who are behind this project are, first of all, Greg Loring Albright, who is the designer of this title, and Jeffrey Greer, the owner and head of Past Go Gaming, which published a great game for solitaire play a few months ago. It was Sans Alliés, a great game that we already had the possibility to play and to review on our Wojennik TV YouTube channel. The game, Leviathan, is an asymmetrical nautical game for 2 players in which one will take control of the whaling fleet of Captain Ahab and its flagship Pequod, and the second player will control Moby Dick and his whales. Both sides will try to slay each other to destroy the opponents. So that's the concept of the game. How the game is played, what are its core mechanics. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at all the components and how the game works. What you are seeing right now is all that you need to play the game. So 18 cards, just 18 cards and a table. That's an important one because to play the game you just need the small deck of 18 cards because both players will have their own cards, but you do need some space to create the battlefield, or as you wish, the sea where the battle will take place. Both sides have some units. When it comes to Moby Dick side, he's got 6 units, 4 whales, Moby Dick 3 additional whales, and 2 dummies, which are called just a trick of the light. So the whaling fleet will be sometimes trying to locate the whales. If it locates a trick of the light, well, it's just a dummy which is removed. The other units are Moby Dick and 3 more whales. Each whale has 2 parameters, an attack strength and a defense parameter. Both will be important during battles. The whaling fleet has 1 vessel at the beginning. It's the Pequod of Captain Ahab, but the humans will be able to launch 3 more vessels, which also have an attack and a defense parameter. Both sides will have movement cards, the whales with a trident and the humans with an arrow. Those cards will be useful and used during the movement sequence. Both sides have 3 tactical cards each, which will be played during the game to influence its course and to increase the chances of winning. Let's take a look at how a classic turn of Leviathan is played. At the beginning of each game, both players will arrange their starting cards at the edges of the playing area. The player controlling the whales arranges them in such a way that the opponent doesn't know which of the 6 cards is a whale and which is only a trick of the light. So during play, the goal of the human player will be to locate the real whales and to find Moby Dick in order to slay him. The whale player knows already where Pequod is. That's his target. He has to sink this boat, but that won't be very easy. During the course of play, both players will play their turns. Both turns are played in a different manner because both players have different actions. The whale player, who always starts the first turn, has the possibility of making only 2 actions, whereas the human player can perform 3 of them. The whale player always has to move all his whales. Now, how movement in Leviathan works. In order to move a whale, we use the movement card. We always stick the card to the arc in the card that we want to move. But we can, and we should, change the position of this card in order to turn our whale. So we can, of course, make our whale swim forward, but it can turn if we can stick our trident just in such a manner that it touches the arc. When the card is placed, we take the whale and we move it using the trident. In the same manner, we move all the whales. Now, an important rule says that the whales can move one to another. The cards can be one upon another. When it comes to the human player, he has only one ship at the beginning, but his 3 additional ships will be placed in some time. If those cards overlap, one of these is immediately destroyed and becomes a wreck. So the human player has to be very careful when moving his ships. The whale player, after moving all his whales, has an option of doing one of 3 things. One of these things is to make one additional move with one of his whales. So we can decide to move one of our whales one more time. Another option is making a maneuver. A maneuver, when it comes to the whale player, consists of turning our whale, whichever we want, 180 degrees, so we can quickly change the direction, or we can also change the place of 2 whales which are still secret, so which were not discovered by the human player. That enables a lot of flexibility for the whale player, and it enables him changing the position of his whales according to the position of the human player. Another action that is possible to be made by the whale player is an attack. An attack is possible if there are overlapping cards of both players. So if, for instance, our whale overlaps Pequod, I can attack him. If more whales overlap ships, we do have to choose where to attack. We cannot attack everywhere, we have to choose one and only one place. I'll talk about attacks in just a few moments. Now let's concentrate on the actions of the human player. The human player at the beginning of the game, as I said earlier, has only Pequod, but he has also 3 more ships. Those ships will enter play in a moment, but first of all, the human player has to move his ships, all his ships, just as the whale player moved his ships a few moments earlier. He uses his own movement cards, which is a little bit different than the trident card of the whale player, because the distance is different. So the ships will move a little bit slower than the whales, but they do move very quickly also. Then the human player has the possibility of doing 2 more things. First, he has the possibility of doing a maneuver. A maneuver by the human player consists of putting a new ship into play. In order to do this, we just put such a card next to Pequod, who is the only vessel able to launch new ships. We can choose the direction in which the new ship will direct its movement. Then we also have the possibility of launching an attack, just like the whale player did. The human player can both launch a new vessel and launch an attack, so human players have the benefit of 3 actions instead of 2. Now, how attacks work? Every vessel and every whale have 2 parameters, attack and defend. When ships and whales overlap, we first of all, verify if the whale, which is still a secret, isn't a trick of the light. If it is, it's just removed from the game. If it's a whale, a battle takes place, and we verify the attack parameter of the attacking unit or animal to the defense parameter of the attacked ship or animal. If it is superior, the vessel is sunk or the whale is killed. A killed whale is just removed from the game. A sunken ship is put on the table as a wreck. Now, why wrecks are important? Because, as I mentioned earlier, both sides have also tactical cards, which can be used during the course of play. Each player can play one tactical card during his turn. The whale player has only 3 cards during the whole game, because once used, such a card is removed permanently from the game. The human player has 3 cards also, but he can recover such cards if he uses one of his wrecks. If such a wreck is on the table, and if Pequod arrives upon it, he rescues the crew of the sunken ship, and the human player can restore one of his tactical cards. That's another benefit for the human player. The game is played in such a manner until Moby Dick is slain or Pequod is sunk. If during the course of play all the 3 whaling vessels are sunk and only Pequod prevails, both players have only 3 more turns to try to win. If they don't succeed, the game ends in a draw and we can replay another game. Now on to some final thoughts. I have played this game several times during those past few days and I enjoyed it a lot. There are at least 3 things that I would like to underline and to mention as strengths of this game. The first one is a very reasonable time of play. Without any problem, you should take out this game from your shelf, from your pocket, prepare it in 15-20 seconds and play a game in 15-20 minutes. That's very reasonable. Taking into consideration that there are very few wargaming fillers, this game could be a great choice if you're looking for something quick, intense and dynamic. This game is asymmetrical, this game is interesting, this game has a fantastic setting, and that's the second thing. Moby Dick is a great book. I love both the story and the concept of the game. The core mechanics, the asymmetrical sides are fantastically done, and I find that the game tells us the story of the book. So that's something exceptional, and I'm glad that it's not just something very abstract. You do feel that both sides, and the humans and the whales, are in a great struggle. So playing this game is just like a fantastic journey, and it's a great journey because you can take it in 15 minutes and restore the cards and play once more. The third great thing about this game are its mechanics, because the game is very simple but very elegant. The game has some nice rules which aren't very new. It's not a game that will introduce some new mechanics to the wargaming world, but those mechanics mixed together work very fine. And that's great because the game has a fantastic flow, and as I said earlier, the pace and the dynamics of the game are great. One thing that should be mentioned that could be a problem is the space that the game takes, because you do receive only 18 cards, so the game is very simple, it's small, but to play it you do need to have some space. You won't play this game in a train, you won't play this game on a coffee table, but you have to have more space. Well, that's not a minus. That's the way the game was designed. If you are in love with this game, you will find a solution. That's not a problem. You'll just play the game when you have the right surface to do so. Concluding, that's a fantastic game, well designed, with a great setting, with a great pace, and with a great flow. If you're looking for something interesting, fresh, quick, and something that has a confrontational climate, that's a great choice. You should support Leviathan. You should check the Kickstarter campaign and order the game right now. I strongly recommend you do. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.